Order. The House is resumed and comes now to questions for oral answer. The first question stands in the name of Peseta Lotu-Iiga.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, my question is to the Minister of Finance. What reports has he received on the nature of New Zealand's economic recovery?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, the New Zealand economy is growing again. Real GDP grew by 1.5% in the 6 months to March 2010, and annual growth could reach 3% this year. However, it's become clear over recent months that the recovery is patchy due to the uncertain global environment, and because New Zealanders are being careful with their spending and paying down debt from a large splurge in debt from 2007 onwards. As a result, because the recovery is not being led by increase in domestic spending in the housing market, it will need to be led by growth in the export sector, which was severely damaged under the last government.
Peseta Lotu-Iiga.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Supplementary to the Honourable Minister. What are the benefits to the economy of an export-led recovery?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, it's vital that we rebalance our economy towards growth from an export sector. Too much of our growth over the last 4 or 5 years has come from people borrowing too much, speculating in the housing market, and that being reinforced by a splurge in government spending. As a lot of Kiwis have found out, that is not a recipe for sustainable jobs, and so an export-led recovery is what's required to rebalance the economy.
That's right.
Peseta Lotu-Iiga.
Mr Speaker, further supplementary to the Honourable Minister. Has he seen any recent indicators of export performance?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, yes, the early signs are that the economy is rebalancing. First, it's evident that New Zealanders are being careful with their consumption and that they are not rushing back to the housing market either. On the other hand, higher export prices have driven a 6% jump in the terms of trade in the March 2010 quarter, the largest quarterly rise since 1976. The seasonally adjusted trade balance for the June 2010 quarter was a surplus of $389 million. This is the second surplus in a row, and the first time that's happened since December 2001. While commodity prices have slipped back slightly in June, they remain 47% higher than a year ago and near the record highs they hit in March this year. So the indicators for export-led growth are promising.
Excellent.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Aspect of the Prime Minister's figures that showed the wage gap with Australia had increased by $23 caused him to spend the last 3 weeks remassaging statistics to come up with something even more far-fetched.
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, the figures that we've been using are based on the statistics that are used to calculate national super. So if the previous government was deceiving superannuitants for 9 years, I would be very surprised. There's general agreement on the wage numbers that are used as the basis for national super. Those are the numbers we have been using. And I invite the opposition to make the case that they're wrong, because 600,000 older New Zealanders would be keen to hear about that.
Thank you, sir. Further question. What was the cost to hard-working New Zealanders of allowing these imbalances to build up?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, the cost to hard-working New Zealanders of the economic management of the last government has for too many of them been that they've lost their jobs. Unemployment reached over 7% because too many of the jobs were based on excessive government spending and excessive borrowing. They weren't real sustainable jobs. We now have the job of the getting through a recovery, which is going to be quite a challenge, creating real new jobs.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
What new policies has the Minister announced in the last 3 weeks to create jobs? And would the 159,000 unemployed Kiwis appreciate that he spent that time remassaging figures rather than coming up with an economic plan to get them a job?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr. Speaker, the most significant new policy which has come out recently has been the increase in GST and the reduction in income taxes. And I've been interested in the Labor Party's position, which is now to abandon the tax cuts and provide an exemption for rates for GST. And I invite them to campaign across the country on that policy.
Point of order, the Honourable David
Speaker,
Cunliffe.
it is not Labor policy to provide an exemption on GST for rates. The Minister well knows it.
Order. And order. The member won't interject while I'm on my feet, but I do accept the cause for grievance, and the minister shouldn't. The minister shouldn't be alleging the opposition parties have certain policies. That's not within the minister's responsibility. The Honourable Sir Roger Douglas.
Mr. Speaker, my question to the Minister of Finance. Does the Minister agree that for every dollar that the government spends, the average New Zealander has one less dollar in their pocket? And if so, why did he allow public sector spending to increase from 46.4 to 50.4, or 4% of GDP, in the 12 months ended the 30th of June 2009, an amount of $8,400 million?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr. Speaker, I think the member, where we would agree with the member, is that excessive government spending, when there's too much of it, can actually limit our capacity for growth, because it keeps resources in the less productive government sector when it should be in the more productive tradables and export sector. However, this government has chosen considered and consistent change over time rather than fast, rapidly executed restructuring. We believe that is the right balance, but we're always open to the discussion with our supporters from the ACT Party.
Question number, point of order, the Honourable David
Mr.
Cunliffe.
Speaker, I seek leave to table linked employer-employee data from the June 2009 quarter, which shows the number of people employed shrank in the year to March and the year to June 2009.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection. Question number 2, the Honourable Annette King.